Fantastic. So why don't we just jump straight into your art? Let's have a look at your first piece here. Tell us a little bit about this.
Well, we're really starting with a whopper. It's called The Flower of Life, and it was done in collaboration with a Bollywood actress called Veena Malik. And it was quite a controversial project in its, I suppose, setting, because she's Pakistani and she's Muslim. So despite her global fame, her origins, it was a fairly, let's say, peculiar circumstances that she would, first of all, say yes to a project that involved her getting nude body painted. And of course, the whole idea was not to reveal any of her body parts or that sort of a thing, but to get to the vulnerable core of everything and tell this whole global story of her controversial story, which is that they tried to kill her in Pakistan over raising some controversy for kissing a guy in the Indian Big Brother show. And there's a whole massive backstory to this, and her being exiled from her country for a year and a half, and then coming to do this whole process with me in Finland. And this particular piece is essentially, you could see her at the bottom of it here, almost like Christ, and she's taking the bravest of acts and essentially giving all the women around the world the permission to do whatever it is that is in their hearts and follow their courage to see a vision of what they can be in their lives and then go and execute. So it was a women's empowerment thing in that kind of a way. But the whole of the process was that I was listening at the time, this American philosopher called Ken Wilber, and he sort of summed up the world's religions in a way that you have what are essentially called the patriarchal religions, and you could see they're the fourth big ones, like Christianity and Islam and Hinduism and Judaism, and they're symbolically represented, all of them, in this one piece. And what they have roughly in common is that they're ascending religions, as in they think that the earth is almost like a halfway house, and the soul comes here to be in almost like a purgatory type of game situation, out of which we ascend up, or then we go down, if depending on how we act over here.
It's a really beautiful piece. Can you give me an idea of the size and scale of it?
It's 3 meters, so that would be something like 9 feet, something like that, in 10 feet, 10
Wow.
feet.
And is it mounted? Where is it today?
There's a prototype print of it, which is like 3 point something foot, that is here in London in a private residence. But the actual thing is going to be massive and built inside of a pyramid, and there's this whole thing. But the story, if you may, if you allow, continues a little bit. That at the same time as what he said is that there's the matriarchal traditions, which would be considered more the pagan ones. They have it all reversed, which is essentially that a soul has had to have done a lot of work in order to deserve a place to come here, and this is paradise. And in the matriarchal traditions, you more celebrate sexuality and fertility, and think that this is heaven already where we are. So it's these conflicting ideas that are represented in all of the symbology here, and how it's all tied up. Is that I remember that when we went to the moon, we thought that it was the most important thing about going to the moon was getting there and seeing what it's like. But it ended up being that the most important picture that we took was when we reversed the camera and we saw Earth for the first time in a photograph, and it revealed to us the beauty and magnificence and vulnerability and all of the things about the Earth. And we saw ourselves as one family properly for the first time in this kind of a way. So it's almost, the round shape of it is almost like a snapshot from the moon back to ourselves in all of our mythologies of how they have something valuable to contribute to one another, and how we are really in this soup together. So that's what I mean about that it might have been a little controversial that it's her who is doing this to begin with. But the whole process, these 6 art pieces that we did together, they all have something of a personal story of hers, but the main input was, how do the bigger whole come together? How do these continents have something to do with mythology, and what it was a bridge building process. It was very important to me at the time, and it's ever so relevant still, because we seem to be polarizing even further now. So all of these kinds of things are where we could get to see ourselves as a one family and remember to tolerate each other, even though we don't necessarily politically or many other ways we don't share same ground. We have to get along, or otherwise things are going to get very ugly. So that was the deepest wish that was behind this piece.
And and it's an incredibly intricate piece. How long did it take from start to finish?
2 years.
Wow, that's
But we
incredible.
literally changed the world, and we reached about 300 million people when we did this.